One episode of this season of We the People Live that I'm doing while I'm out here is with Sam Harris, the
singer?
atheist slash.
Yeah, I know. The singer guy actually blocked me.
I didn't know there was a singer called Sam Harris.
Yes, he's a very famous singer because he won the first Star Search.
Does that make you very famous?
It made him famous at the time. He's not necessarily famous now.
Okay.
But when I was yelling at Sam Harris, the atheist, once,
you were accidentally yelling.
And to me, it was like he blocked me immediately. But I was like, I would have thought at one point he would say,
just say, "Dude,
I'm not talking
me.
about Muslims." Yeah.
So there's an episode. I'm not sure exactly what order these will be released in, but there's like a 3.5 hour episode with me and Joe Rogan and Hannibal Buress and Sam Harris. And
all together?
All together.
Wow.
Yeah, all together. It's a real corker. But it's funny that I'm doing that in the same week that I'm doing this episode with you, because I sometimes spy on your like Twitter feuds with Sam Harris. What's going on there? What's your relationship to faith and my pinged there?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really angry about. I mean, it's like I'm not even like, people always say like, well, we'll go. Not that he would invite me or anything. I have no desire to debate him or Bill Maher or any of these guys. I really feel like. I do a joke in my act that when to me, atheists. My memory of atheists were just like people who look very depressed at picnics, And my dad was an agnostic, leaning towards atheism. And when I would tell him about the new atheists, he was shocked by how horrible. It's like, for example, I was raised Jewish, which means like for the most part you're not that spiritual. But when I was 16, my mother became a Quaker. And the Quaker is a wonderful religion. My mother doesn't necessarily believe in God. She doesn't know, but she relates to how she gets together. They're pacifists. And it's like this whole idea that you're just going to put people down. I was raised like, as long as someone's not trying to bother you, you should respect, why you hate what they're doing. And I just think that for whatever reason, I think atheism, at its best, there's nothing scientific about it. We don't know what's going to happen when we die. Nobody knows. There's no science involved in saying, well, I see a person die and I don't see them afterwards, so I know that there's nothing. We don't know what there is afterwards. My spirituality is in the moment. It's like how I feel from music, how I feel from comedy, how I feel from taking acid in college. It's like there's a part of
I like that you added in college.
College.
Right. College!
I'm still going to college just for acid. And
I enrolled at UCLA so I could get the acid.
Right, and you have this moment where you feel it's transcendent. I'm not trying to prove that it's something. I'm not anti-evolution. But years ago, I predicted that this would go badly, and it has gone badly.
What would?
Well, if you go online, you see the Trump people. They're the same as the Sam Harris people. They're the meanest, most nasty people in the world. They not only are saying they are anti-theist, they will mock you.
Trump people aren't.
Trump people are?
I said Trump people are not. I mean, Trump people are religious.
Some of them are, but some of them are anti-Muslim in the same way.
Right.
They're anti-Muslim.
But they're religious. I mean, they're like the pastor who wanted to...
No, not yet. You're right, but they hate Muslims the same way. There's a crossover.
I don't think Sam hates...
He claims not to, but he's part of a movement that does.
Here would be the difference. I think... is it possible to be an atheist towards formal religions and their historical and cosmic claims, but an agnostic about the possibility of there being some vast, ineffable purpose to the universe and experience and transcendent experiences, right? Because, I mean, Sam's I'm not going to speak about Sam because he's a neuroscientist, he can speak for himself. But from my perspective, as a secular Jew and essentially an atheist Jew, I am agnostic towards... And as someone who's experienced incredible transcendent experiences on acid and like ayahuasca and other things as well.
Right.
I think the existence of consciousness is deeply spooky and incredible, and the fact of the existence of the cosmos at all is amazing. How atoms from stars have assembled themselves into being self-aware creatures having a conversation around a Zoom handy recorder H4n that we managed to invent is extraordinary.
Yeah.
And mystifying. And science can't fundamentally answer the question of why the whole shebang exists in the first place.
Right.
But it can also be true that all the historical claims about what went down 2,000 years ago in the Middle East and whether or not a particular person was a virgin or not and whether or not someone went went to heaven after 3 days after dying, or whether or not Muhammad flew to heaven on a winged horse, or whether or not Moses parted the Red Sea, you can quite confidently say that there's no good reason to believe in any of that. And there's just no, using the normal standards of evidence that we would require in order to know whether or not the Holocaust happened or whether or not the Napoleonic Wars happened. There's just no good reason to think that these books are anything other than just fictional books that were written by men.
Right, but my point is...
That means that you're an atheist towards formal religion.
Towards religion, but to me that's like, I figured that out when I was 10. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
but
I'm against
pretend to believe
Well, but they do, so what? So it's like, I'm not... If people like Sam Harris and Richard Dawkins, if they really cared about that, they would be focusing on the Texas school board. That's where you want to focus on people who are still trying. They do, but for the most part, that's not what my mother believes. That's not what people I know mostly believe. I'm against fundamentalism of all kinds, but they're fundamentalists too. I couldn't care less what a white neuroscientist guy who to me has anger against people for their religion, no matter what he says. The sum total of him and Marr and Dawkins and Hitchens, they hate Muslims, and they may say they don't. But
how do you know?
I've read it. I've read them. When I hear Sam Harris say Islam is the mother lode of bad ideas, why would I trust him? He's not a religious scholar. I mean, if you want to go to Reza Aslan or people who've actually studied religion, yeah. So I'm saying, yeah, of course. I don't believe in that God is like Ricky Gervais thinks he's a genius because he figured out God's not an old man who lived in the clouds. This is fundamentalism 101. This is something that you go through when you're a kid, and so it's like, who would argue that those things are true? But most people...
I think you're
giving... Well, then they're wrong. People are arguing they're wrong. The earth is not flat.
I think you're giving too much credit to the average religious person who would... Like, my grandmother... Well, not my grandmother, but my grandmother-in-law, for example, whilst not a religious fundamentalist who's going to fly planes into buildings, would not concede that Jesus was not divine.
Well, but I mean, I'm not for her, but the Dalai Lama doesn't say that. I mean, Buddhists don't say that.
But Sam Harris doesn't spend a lot of time criticizing Buddhism.
But the net result is that there's more hate crimes towards Muslims, and those people are causing it. The argument that you can't criticize, it's never that anybody like me has said you can't criticize. That's what's so ironic about it to me, that I would be defending religion. To me, it's like the hackiest thing in the world when comedians do atheist material. It's like, oh yeah, let me get this straight. I used to do a joke where they go, I hope God is an old man who lives in the clouds, because when the atheist gets up there, he goes, oh, you're surprised, hotshot? I mean, this is like... It's almost hacky to me to have this discussion about whether Jesus really existed or whatever it was. I'm way past that. I'm way past that. And to the extent that there are fundamentalists who believe the earth is flat or they don't believe in evolution, I'm sorry that they feel that way. But for the most part, I think what I know from being online is that I have a lot of Muslim friends. They're very sophisticated people, and all they feel is hate. And all they feel is that they're going to be rounded up, and that's what Trump's doing. And I see nothing good what Bill Maher and Richard Dawkins. I see nothing good about what they're doing.
I mean, one of the concerns that some people in the atheist movement have about Donald Trump is that he's partly fueled by the inability of well-meaning people on the left to speak honestly, but not in a bigoted way, about the problem of Islamic theocracy, of Islamic conservatism, the illiberalism of Islam, that because people feel like they're treading on eggshells all the time.
There's a Dave Rubin, there's a regressive left argument.
Sort of. I mean, Dave's doesn't make it as well as one might, I don't think. But that Trump is a sort of a pressure release valve in a way for people who feel like if you're a low information voter in the south of France and you see that every time there's some kind of a terrorist attack, the person who's committing it is screaming Allahu Akbar.
Right.
But every single person on the left is saying there's no problem with Islam, it has nothing to do with Islam, and the only person you can vote for is the National Front and the fascists.
Yeah, but that's not the way.
Who do you back? We need to carve out a space where we can talk
But those
talk
right
about
people, those people, the reason why I'm sensitive to it is the same people who are arguing what I think unknowingly people like Sam Harris are arguing for. It's exactly like Germany in the 30s. Where do you think these right-wing movements came from? They didn't come from, Hitler didn't come from because people were too progressive about Jews. He came from deep-seated hate.
So but he also didn't come from like a rational, secular analysis of what the problems facing Germany was, and like...
Yeah, right? But I just think it's very simplistic to think. It's like if I can't even talk about like if you hear someone like Reza, he'll talk about like when they say like things that are Islam based. He goes, no, well that's Africa based. That's like all these countries in Africa do this. I think it's
in terms of like female genital mutilation and stuff.
Yeah, it's like for example, I mean, do we not listen to the Beatles? I mean, do we go Helter Skelter is wrong because Charles Manson used Helter Skelter? I think all of the people who are evil pervert real things, and so I don't focus. To me, it's not that important that they perverted Islam. Because then you're saying, oh, like we're not supposed to worry about the white nationalists. That's what Bill Maher says. Never worry again. Like, do you think? I don't even think Bill Maher knows that there's that guy Breivik in Norway. I really don't think he knows him. Yeah, I don't think he knows him. It's like
he's probably aware of the news.
Maybe, but he makes his argument. The only thing we have to worry about is
Islamic terrorism.
It's crazy to me. We have
I
to
think
worry
he
about.
thinks that it's more likely that there's going to be an act of mega terrorism by jihadists than by a white supremacist.
I just think it's all perversions of. I just think focus on the people doing it, and we know how they always say Obama doesn't want to say radical Islam. That's just politics. That's right wing
politics. Of course. I think that's a red herring. I mean, he's the president of the United States. He has to be careful what he says.
Exactly.
He's got obligations to other parties, to other states, to other leaders, to other there's a certain way that one conducts foreign diplomacy that can't be dictated by Donald Trump.
The problem is that these people, I hate them and they hate me. So there's no like Sam Harris. I hate him, and I hate Richard Dawkins, and I hate Bill Maher. There's no going back for me. It's
right.
and they hate me. Like with Sam Harris, like he thinks like one time I said I'm reporting Sam Harris, Richard Dawkins to the Southern Poverty Law thing as a hate group, and he's like, "Well, good luck with that." I mean, I don't think he realizes that I'm
you're a comedian.
So
I'll point it out to him next time I talk to him.
Yeah.
Let's wrap
up on your drink.
Don't step on my drink. That's rule number one.
I don't discount what you're saying about things. That I've never discounted that fundamentalism is bad. It's just I don't think that's the overriding issue right now.